Hey everybody, welcome to Over the Hump, your whenever we want to Wednesday comedy night show. I have a special guest, Mckinley Devilbiss. You just saw his band, Incredibly Tall People, playing. I happened to be at that particular show, and I was wearing this particular shirt, and I was probably wearing this shirt underneath it. I'm wearing that today. So we're gonna get to that in just a bit, but before we get there, tomorrow night, 9 o'clock, on Met Comedy Night's Twitch channel, Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McAllister at 9 p.m. You can call in and share strange stories of the bizarre, any alien encounters, ghost encounters, or funny squirrels you've seen walking around. And then this Friday night, the Comedy Pigs will be on Twitch and the Maryland Ensemble Theater's Facebook page at 9 p.m. for some short form improv. All right, hey, why don't we get to it, Matt? Come on. What's up, friend? Are you there? Can you hear me? What what's going on? Hey, Grandmaster Ong.
Hello?
Yeah. All right. Woo. So, Mac, thank you so much for being on the show today. I am so glad that we get a chance to chat and catch up. We've known each other forever.
Mm.
And I feel like I saw the moment where you put down the skateboard and picked up a guitar, right?
Yeah. It was they overlapped for a little bit, but I remember like bigger ramps and bigger rails and stairs looking kind of scary and hurting myself more, and then seeing that guitar was a lot safer.
Yeah. So and then really when you first started there was a lot of inspiration from your father, but then other music scene in Myrtle Beach. Hey, thank you very much, Grandmaster. I've been a compliment on my beard.
It was a rad beard.
I don't really know what to do with it. I hide it behind a mask, but I don't really know what to do with it.
Let it fly, man. I wish I could be that fool. I can't quite do it. I can do it here. That's it.
uh, I have no idea how this really happened. I just stopped caring for a bit, and here we are.
But yeah, so there was my dad really kind of got me into it. He was a bass player and singer around town, and you remember he'd always play the Garden City Pier like every weekend, and we go play like video games all night, and he'd be out there playing and doing that stuff. And once I kind of got into it, there's a band called Eason, which was a bunch of local dudes around town that we would go see like every time they played at the
I
Dead.
remember that group. Yeah.
That was one where like when I first started playing music, I wasn't like, this is what I'm gonna do. It was like, this is a cool thing that I might get better at. And I remember my dad saying like, yeah, you can learn your modes, your scales. I'm like, that sounds like a lot of work. I'm not gonna do that. And lo and behold, I ended up doing exactly that. But uh it it slowly kind of took me over. Like I was like, oh, he just showed me something on the bass one time when I was about 11. And the next day I'm like, let me try that again. And then like every subsequent day I would try new things. And a year later I was like, I guess I'm playing music now.
I guess music's my thing. I haven't really done a kickflip in a month or so.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm so tired of spraining my wrist like every month.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah, that's cool. I actually but you just reminded me now we're talking about playing arcades and then going and seeing the band on the pier and your dad being in that band. I'm just remembering all that stuff coming back right there in Garden City.
Yeah.
Of course, it led to the first group that you were in, Charge and Remnants.
Yep.
Remember those days and like what we had to pretty much encourage a particular venue to have an original music night so that way different bands that we knew could play, right, and gather some people. But so what really kind of got you into getting a group? So you played a little bit on your own, right? or you had some
Yeah.
music, but
So basically, my buddy Jeremy, we went to school together, and he was kind of starting to learn drums a little bit. And I started on bass and kind of went towards guitar about a year later and focused more on that. And we were like, oh, we'll put a band together, haha. And um, kind of joked around about it. And our friend Sam was going to school with us at the time, and I knew he played bass. And then it was actually a couple years after we had talked about it. Like I played in church a little bit, but we called Sam up again and decided to do like a little trio thing. So me, Sam, and Jeremy. And yeah, that was like the garage band, awful, just terrible, you know, learning the ropes as we went. And our first two gigs were just like friends' birthday parties, and it was pretty rough, you know.
yeah, I mean, that was still such a unique experience because you being a couple years ahead of me, like at every stage, I felt like even then, if you thought something was rough, I was like, "Hey, man, my friends are making a lot of sound and it's great."
Yeah,
Um, so I always thought that was really cool, and you really inspired my brother and I to do some music ourselves.
good.
Um, I took your first photos, I think. It's like you maybe I don't know. One of your first like I did a photo shoot with just like a digital like you actually used to have a digital camera.
Yeah,
It
it was
wasn't
my
on your phone, right?
no, I didn't even have a cell phone then. So
Right. Yeah.
that was pre-cell phone. I held out on the cell phone pretty long. I saw the evil that it would take over my life once I got it. But but yeah, I remember, so was that in my backyard? You're talking about those?
Yeah, yeah, and then some of you climbed the roof or something like that.
No, that was a different because we
Or
did
is
that.
that they're all getting mixed up because they're so long ago. Some of the memories.
Yeah, that's like that. Those are the MySpace days.
Yeah, we you were yeah, your band was on MySpace
Yeah, that's before Facebook was really
and
prominent.
really like launched, took off.
Of course, I was late, like cell phones, MySpace, social media in general. I was always like the last dude to jump on it. Like a couple years after MySpace was a thing, I was like, fine, I'll get on it. And that's like about a year or two before Facebook was like the thing. And then I still waited to get on Facebook. So I've always been like intentionally behind on those things just because like, especially when I was in high school, whatever everyone was doing, I was like, nah. I just didn't want to follow the crowd, I guess. I don't know.
Right, right. Um, so I'm gonna flash way forward in case because we're just talking about like, hey, what got you into music? Why would I ask that question? What got you into music? It's because you've been doing a lot of stuff for your entire life, and now you record a lot, and you've got some projects going on. But if I were just meeting you, which some people could be just meeting you right now, like what how would you describe your work? What is it that you're doing now?
So it's like a combination of freelance musicianship, like kind of being a guitarist or bassist for hire for a few different bands, and uh, just recording in whatever capacity I'm able to try to help people make their music, you know, recorded. So currently, I'm going to Coastal Carolina to get a master's in music tech. So that's kind of like an overall umbrella of like recording, mixing and mastering, all the stuff that kind of goes with that, and also like some composing for media, which is like TV shows, movies, like kind of the tech side of how all that works together, among other things. So I have a job through the school doing like audio restoration work on a couple of projects and stuff like that as well. So yeah, just a lot of sitting at the computer and making audio try to sound better than it does currently. But so I've recorded a few people in my little room here. I mean, this little project studio. I've done some work in other studios around town. I've mixed like some bands will mix or record themselves in their own studio or project studio, send me the tracks and I'll mix it for them. So yeah, it's just a lot of different things kind of happening at once.
Yeah, that's interesting how you can do that work with some people digitally. And so, I mean, I have a vague sense of what you mean when talking about mixing a track and so after someone sends it to you. But if even if I was more clueless than I already am, specifically when it comes to that, what is your process? How do you do it? What's the program? What do you listen for? How much time does it take? Just talk to me like I'm completely dumb about all of it, and I'm actually most likely completely dumb about all of it.
Well, you've at least like seen under the hood a little bit, like working with me. But yeah.
Yeah.
So mixing specifically is taking, like, say you have a band, let's just go typical rock band, drum set, couple guitars, bass, couple vocals, maybe a keyboard. You record all those things as individual sound files, and either I would do that or whoever does that would send me all those files individually. And mixing is the art of kind of taking that and making it sound like the stuff you hear on the radio today. Because normally coming in, it doesn't really sound that way. There's a lot of things you have to do to make individual elements work together on just two speakers. If you see a band live, there's probably like an amp for each thing that needs to be amplified. The drums are acoustic. There's a PA rocking the vocal. They don't necessarily have to share the same speaker, so it's kind of a different art to make multiple things, especially very loud things, fit in a small little tiny sonic package that can come through a speaker and sound good still.
Wow.
I
I haven't thought of it that way at all. You just like blew my mind a bit. What was that you said?
I might be making it sound more impressive than it actually is, but essentially that's kind of, in a way, like a good analogy is like someone making a painting. You're looking at a 2D just plane, and you're seeing a painting in like a forced perspective of 3D imagery, right? So you can see like a forest that goes back to like deeper in the forest. You're kind of doing similar tricks to make mixes sound real, like, especially, I mean, it depends on what you're going for, but like when you put on a set of headphones and you listen to recordings, you can kind of see the band on stage. Usually you can kind of imagine where everything is, and you're essentially doing like a 2D painting but in audio sense, if that makes sense.
Nice. That makes a lot of sense. I'm a visual learner, and you described it to me completely visually. So, I hope everyone tuning in right now is also a visual learner. And if you are tuning in right now, I'm going to go ahead and post a link in the chat here to join our Zoom call. Don't worry, I have to approve or deny you. So we'll make sure that you might actually know McKinley. We'll go to a break, have you on. So if you know him and talk and know like what it's like working with him, I'd love to hear some of your stories about what it's like to hang out with Mac and do a project with him, right? So I have fortunately done a lot of projects with you. They're not all music projects. We've done silly like little video projects. We've done I don't who knows. We've done too much, I'm sure.
Or see,
What was that?
stuff that no one should ever hear or see, probably.
Yeah, most likely. That's why they haven't heard or seen it. We've done a good job.
Yeah.
But one of our first things we did, you had a mixing board or recording board that your father's band was done using, and you had got from him, and you were just messing around with it, learning how to put different tracks into it, and it was like you had to use this actual thing. It wasn't a program on your computer, right?
Yeah, so I still have that thing actually. It's like in my closet. It's called a Yamaha AW16, but it's like a little Porta Studio. And it looks like just a mixing board you would see like in a live band situation. It's got the faders and all that, but yeah, it would just, you plug stuff in and record right onto like a little hard drive that it has built in internally, and that was it. So I remember, yeah, my dad's friend Dave would record my dad's band with that thing, and then he upgraded to a bigger version of that. My dad bought the smaller version for me to mess around with.
Yeah, that's wild. Just I guess, I mean, so this is talking about where technology has come from, right? Like at the time, I don't know what other equipment there was out there, especially that someone could have their hands on, like in their home. So you had this, and you were messing around, but we actually wrote some songs together. You recorded several different parts, and then I made up some dumb lyrics and spat them out to it. But could you talk a little bit about what it was like figuring out for the first time how to do that? Make this 2D painting in a look 3D in the sound space.
Yeah. So basically, the short version of the long story is it took me years and years to really get decent at it. When my dad got me that, in my head, it was like, oh, cool. Now I can record my own stuff. How hard could it be? Like you plug stuff in, use an equalizer to make it sound how you want to, put it out. And then I just kept realizing that everything I did sounded kind of not how I expected. Um, and listening back, like as I've gotten older, I'd go back to like stuff that I would try to write and that I've never put out for when I was like 16, and be like, actually, it's not terrible. But at the time, it's like this doesn't sound like Jane's Addiction or whatever the heck I was trying to go for. And so it was a lot of frustration and like, you know, kind of learning the hard way of like, okay, I have to have certain speakers, I guess, or I have to, do whatever, and just going back and forth, like getting a sounding good in one spot in my headphones or whatever I was using to mix on, throwing it in my car and then being like, why does it sound completely different? What's going on? So it was like a very long, frustrating process of something that eventually like caught my attention enough to where I was like, okay, I'm going to figure this out, and spent years and years like listening to podcasts, watching YouTube videos, reading articles, and eventually going to school for it now to actually figure it out. But yeah, I didn't expect to go down that path. Like I thought like, all right, I'm going to play music, and this is just one way that I can put music out because I don't have any money to pay anyone to record me.
It's kind of funny, like what it sounds like to me, and I've never made this assessment of you before, but it sounds like to me is you're like upset that just hitting record didn't sound like what you expected it to sound like. And so your frustration was like, well, let me try again. And you just kept being, it's like, it wasn't that you were dead set to do that, but you're just like, wait a minute, that's not what I wanted. And so you kept coming back and coming back and coming back to be like, no, let me get what I wanted. And then what now you're probably so experienced that you're aware it doesn't matter. You could spend an infinite amount of time on something, right? But at some point it's gonna, so how do you balance what your expectations of what you want something to sound like with being a professional that needs to release things like in a timely manner?
Yeah. So I mean, it's putting the work and experience in to get to the point where you know how long it's going to take you to do something, and being realistic about it. And I can't say that I'm there yet. Like there's times where I crank out a mix in 3 or 4 hours, and that's a relatively short amount of time. And then I'm like, okay, cool. That worked out pretty well. Then the next song might take me like 3 sessions of 3 or 4 hours to try different things, because you can record a bass or a guitar 1,000 times, and every time is probably going to sound different, and you have new challenges to do. So like, it's really just getting to the point where all the ins and outs of all your tools and kind of the science behind them. That was like my first step. I got really nerdy and like, all right, I know what compressors do and equalizers and all this stuff, and I know what all the buttons do. But then it's like you're mixing science and art. So now I have to subjectively make good decisions to where it at least sounds good to me, and I hope what I like translates well to other people as well. And it's a constant struggle, and I'm getting better at it every time I do it. But up until probably last year, I was still kind of like, man, everything I do sucks. And now it's like, I think it's at least passable. Some mixes I think are pretty good, but it's not. I mean, you're always striving for something better, and I think that's part of my personality that keeps me moving forward, is like, I could do better. That's the best it'll ever get in my mind. But yeah, so as far as like managing time with all that, like I think first you just have to try and fail and fail and fail. And I mean that goes for any artistic process, right? For you as an actor. Um,
Wait, you think I failed?
oh yeah.
I'm
No,
kidding. I'm kidding.
I mean, realistically though, like you have to. There's no way.
Yes.
It's like riding a skimboard the first time. No one's just gonna jump on that thing and ride it. Like you're gonna eat crap, you know. Um,
Sand, dirt. I don't know about crap, but yeah, sure.
um, I mean horses. Yeah. Anyway, um, yeah, you just have to keep trying and failing and like making notes of what went wrong and doing it again. And for me, this took a really, really, really long time. I mean, got that little board that you mentioned when I was like 14 or 15. I'm 30 now, and I feel like I'm about at the point where I can comfortably put myself out there. You know, so
Yeah, that's wild to think about. To, to think about the length of time you've been really pursuing, not necessarily pursuing, because you're saying you didn't pursue it, but been consumed in really like figuring it out. And that's interesting that you really elaborated on a very important thing when it comes to art being subjective, right? Like you went and dissect the science of everything, like you had said, but you know, if something doesn't sound quite right, then it actually sounds different and could be a useful tool or something. So now, what that's leading me to is, has there anything has there been anything that's been really surprising, recording wise, that was completely unexpected, but that you leaned into in order to actually make a song work? If there's any instances like that, perhaps.
um, hmm. I'm sure I have multiple answers for this, but I'm trying to think of a specific one.
Only the right answer I will accept.
Okay, then. Um, I mean, there's situations where I think an eye-opening part for me was like at a certain point, you're given what you're given. So if a track sounds a certain way that's kind of weird, you can't necessarily, I mean, it depends on what we're talking about, but there's a certain point where you can't really change stuff anymore. So one trick is like if you have like subpar recordings, um, not here. All right, let me put it this way. Not everything is like a science to where like, okay, you get everything clean and pristine and now that's a good mix and you put it out. Like sometimes, it's what we call vibe. Like this sounds like crap, but I'm going to make it sound like crap in a cool way and lean into it, you know? Um, some of my favorite recordings are old, like the band Bad Brains. I know I've made you listen to them way too many times, but like their their like Yellow album, if you're familiar with that, is I'm pretty sure they played live and there was like a microphone in the back of their rehearsal space and it just happened to sound halfway decent. They put an album out and it sounds bad from a technical standpoint, but it sounds so awesome. And it's my favorite recording of theirs because they redid some of those songs later. And oh, am I good? I said my internet.
I heard everything you said. Your video froze for a bit, so I went and like poked you, and then it seemed to work. You're back. I heard everything. That's why I
Cool.
didn't interrupt.
That's all that matters. But yeah, I mean, just because something sounds bad doesn't mean it can't be cool, I guess is like one example of that. And that's where you get in trouble with science versus art, you think like, oh, fix certain numbers, certain frequencies, certain settings or whatever. Like it really, all those things are just tools for you to be artistic. So it's like, it's not, you can paint with whatever brush you want to paint with. I'm not a painter. I'm making bad analogies, but but that kind of makes sense in my head, right? Like, there's no one way, right way to create like a visual artistic piece. You can be creative, and if it's weird, like think of a Picasso painting. Like, what is that thing? That in the audio world can be like, man, this is a weird, distorty sounding record, but it's cool. It's got a vibe. It's got character, and that's more important than like getting a scientifically correct mix, whatever that even means.
Well, yeah, you want if people are listening to it, people are listening to it.
Yeah.
right? What's funny, because we had talked about some of those recordings where we were just messing around when you first got your recording. For one reason or another, my girlfriend Carly listened to those, and I thought I'd just be like a funny joke. Listen how awful these are. She thought they were the most hilarious thing. Her and our friend Jess would ask me to listen to them constantly, and it was while we were studying in Italy together, and we even like showing those recordings to multiple people, and I'm just like sitting there embarrassed the whole time. I'm like, please don't make me show this. Don't let me make people listen to this.
I'm embarrassed
Um,
knowing that this happened.
what?
I said I'm embarrassed knowing that this happened because I know what you're
Yeah,
talking.
I was like, what? So for people who don't know what we're talking about, like one of the songs was called Belch King, and we literally like drank a bunch of sodas and like burped into the microphone for one of the tracks. Like it's ridiculous. So we're not gonna play that on the stream. We don't want to detour anyone who's here right now. Uh, oh yeah. So anyway,
Part is it'd probably go viral or something, and then I'd have to like
like
go off.
yeah,
Yeah.
suddenly like we're hired for commercials for like particular soda brands who need more crazy creative ways to promote their products. We should release it. We should. If we get enough comments in the chat that say release it, then I'll put it up. I'll put it up somewhere. I don't know how I can play it.
I don't even know how you.
For one reason or another, so I had it on my computer, and there was a point in time where I took one of my phones and put all my music on my computer on my phone. And so then I stumbled upon it on my phone one day. I was like, oh, how do I have this on my phone? And then because I've been using like the smart transfer, it's just always been on my phone. So I like, what? I can always play this thing. Right. So anyway, let's talk about specifically Incredibly Tall People. So this was a band that was like in the middle of multiple different bands that you played with, or Below the Baseline was like almost the same, but it got rebranded. I'm not quite sure, but there was like there was a core group of friends that was involved with this project, right? And I just want you to speak a little bit to that. Here, let's hear about Incredibly Tall People, the shirt that I have on, and was the video for the pre-show today.
Yeah. So yeah, that was like the last iteration of like a 10-year long like evolution of bands. So you mentioned Shards and Remnants, the one we did with me, Sam, and Jeremy in high school. So started there, then we decided to add our buddy Panda in to play bass and put Sam kind of more as a lead singer, I think. And we called that Kava Calls.
Kava Calls.
At the time, yeah, and changed the name. And the reason, actually, that's kind of a funny story. The reason we did that, there's a venue called Soundgarden. I don't know if you remember that. It's like
Yep.
the club now, I think. But yeah, it's we played a couple gigs there, and the owner hit us up and was like, hey, I'm thinking about trying to manage a band. I like you guys. Let's meet and talk about it. So like, okay, kind of cool, whatever. Like we're coming out of high school, like someone wants to manage us, man. This is gonna be awesome. And we like meet up with this dude and like play a little bit at his club. And he was like, yeah, first of all, this is Below the Baseline still. He's like,
You mean Shards and Remnants?
Yeah, Shards and Remnants.
Okay. Right. let's get the timeline straight.
Yeah, Shards and Remnants. And am I getting this mixed up? No. So he was like, the name's long. I think you should change the name, and I think you should add another member and have someone be like a lead singer or something to that effect. So that's why we added Panda, and we decided to change the name to Kava Calls. And the guy didn't like the name, and he was like, I have a name in mind. He's like, Punchin' Dogs.
We were Punchin' like, Dogs?
Dogs. We're like, what the heck is that? And he was like, no. See, it means like when you hook up with like ugly chicks. We're like, that's awful.
That's even worse.
terrible. Then he was like, no, no, but no one knows that. I'm like, well, that's stupid.
Well, if they don't know that, then they're still thinking our band's name is about like abusing animals. What the hell?
We're not some biker band. Like, what are you hearing right now that we're playing? It's reggae rock. And like,
Oh, I never knew this story. See, that's why we do this. Like, you
yeah,
find out these ridiculous stories about things that actually happen to artists.
yeah. So we were just basically like, we're not calling the band Punching Dogs. And he had some other names. Like, yeah, and like, so it worked out cool because we had a Panda in, and that was a cool addition, and made the band evolve into a bunch of other things later. But like, um, yeah, we basically said no to the band name, and he was like, I remember he called me up, and he was like, super nice guy. I mean, I liked him, but he was like, yeah, you know, I just have like a certain something to the effect like he had a certain vision, and like he doesn't want to get frustrated if we don't want to go along with it. And I'm like, okay, cool. Well, it was fun talking. Thanks for being interested. And I mean, he wasn't really. I'm kind of making him sound like a jerk. He was cool about it, but like, yeah, I appreciate the fact that he was like went ahead and said like it's either gonna be this way or the highway, and I was like, cool, highway it is. And so then Panda's in the band. Kava Calls happens. Our buddy Sam decides to go walk across America. Right out of high school, he said, "I'm just gonna go hiking, you know, or hitchhiking." So he leaves, and we become Below the Baseline, which is just me, Panda, and my buddy Jeremy. So a couple years of that, we changed drummers a few times.
When was it though that there was a rendition, either Cavacalls or during Below the Baseline, right? That Hunter.
Yeah, that's when we started. Yeah. That's when we started Below the Baseline when Sam left. Hunter wanted to play, and we're like, cool, man, it'll be a 4-piece. And we had 2 guitars, Hunter on the other guitar. We did that for a while, and I ended up kicking him out because he was so busy. I feel like a jerk to the day because we had a lot of fun in that band, and I know he really didn't want to leave the band, but he was married and in the National Guard and stuff, and that was in my head. I was like, we're going for it. I had all the dreams of like being the next Ben Harper, not from a fame standpoint, but just from like let's go make it happen, and yeah, like I thought everyone else in the band was like that too. Like, yeah, like we're all in, we're practicing every week. Like, you're not watching football, you're going to practice, and it was a bit of a high expectation, but so yeah, we ended up kind of going 3-piece after that. And then Sam moved back into town a couple years later, and I made him learn keyboards. I was like bossy. I didn't realize it at the time, but I was bossy. I don't think he wanted to play keys at all. And I was like, yeah, you're learning keyboards and gonna sing. And then we went through a few drummers in that phase. It ended up being like, what's that movie with gosh, what's the movie?
I don't know.
That always changed drummers. The drummer always died. Smell the Glove was their album. Is that funny? It'll come to me. But yeah, we went through a few different drummers and eventually landed on Austin, and we decided, all right, rebranding
again.
Yeah. Because we had been, well, what we ended up doing was separating cover stuff, because we became a cover band in the middle of that somewhere, so we could actually make some cash to record.
That's what it's like in the Myrtle Beach music scene, which we'll get into, I guess.
I mean, I'll give you the skinny. If you want to play covers all night, you can work any night of the week, every night of the week for $100 a man, or hopefully more. And so that's the good part about Myrtle Beach. Not every place can do that. But the local original music scene kind of suffers, and they go through waves of like having more people involved and venues to play at, and then not. Like a lot of those places shut down after a year or two, unfortunately. So
which is what happened to the Soundgarden, which you were talking about when the guy made you or change your name the first time. That the Soundgarden was that exactly. It was a year or two's worth of cool shows and then gone.
Yeah, and that was a really cool place. It's a shame that happened, but yeah. So what was I saying?
So you were elaborating on finally like landing on Incredibly Tall People because you rebranded. You wanted an original band name because Below the Baseline had become your cover band.
Yeah, so we had both bands kind of going at the same time in parallel. Below the Baseline was all the cover stuff that we could just play, and then Incredibly Tall People was the original band. And the
Not
idea was,
confusing at all.
well, yeah, it was. Yeah, the
No, we
intention.
still are Below the Baseline, but that's the different night.
Yeah, if you want to hear us play, I don't know, Bob Marley or something, go to Bubba's and Below the Baseline will play that. If you want to hear us play our stuff, that's Incredibly Tall People at the Boathouse or whatever, you know. So it was a marketing strategy, and if we were any good at marketing at all, it might have been less confusing. But I was awful at that stuff, so I know I can say personally I did not help make that any more clear.
Like your Two-Face. Why not have two bands market?
Then we had a third one, which is a cover band of our own band. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, Incredibly Tall People.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know. I was trying to make up something dumb, but yeah. So that is when that happened, and we recorded a full-length album that we were pretty proud of, and the video that was playing at the beginning of the live, whatever, this live stream, was our CD release show, and your buddy AJ filmed all that, and that was a really fun night.
Yeah, you just reminded me. So that particular video had a bit of a storyline to it. You reminded me that Brett, a friend of mine from Coastal Carolina University, playing a character that you were kind of like, I don't know, like he ended up on stage. He was like becoming a member of the band that night, or I don't know what it was, but it was pretty cool that all those shots got to happen.
Yes, I'm remembering what that was, and I think we never quite put it into fruition. But it was going to be a music video for the song "World So Cold," which is kind of about like people feeling like an outcast, and that's crappy that people have to feel that way, like they're being ignored by the cool crowd or whatever the situation is. And so it's all kind of coming back to me right now. The video was going to be him like being bullied at school or something like that, and then coming to our show and us being like, no one cares here, man, come in, you know, we love you for whoever you are. And it was a really good idea. Yeah, we just never quite finished the idea. Probably my fault as well. AJ was really on top of our video stuff, and I did not help him move forward a lot. But
yeah, well, you were working on making music.
I mean, I was 20 something, you know, like working on making music, but also super unorganized. And, you know, a lot of good that came out of that string of bands was realizing like, oh, I learned how to play music, but now I got to learn the business side of it and how to actually get stuff done and stay on top of things. And
yeah, that's really interesting that you bring that up, because that's something that artists, I feel like, are never aware of when it's really exciting when you discover your passions, right? Is then, and it's a bit against, it's a big uphill battle to climb, right? So it's like, okay, this is what I want to do. How do I make a living out of it? And there's so many people who can want you to do it for free, and you're like, well, no, these are, I have to, like, if I'm doing this, I've spent X many hours and spent this much on equipment or something, like, so that is interesting to know that. I think we're gonna go ahead and go to a commercial break real quick, and let's see if So I Smile will play without copyright infringement. So this is a song that I think was one of your most popular singles. I don't know which band it came out with, but you played it in a few different variations of the band. And to my knowledge, it had a really profound effect on a lot of people. A lot of people knew all the lyrics to this song and couldn't wait for that on whenever you played an original show, couldn't wait for that to come up. So here we go, into the break. We are going to check that out.
cool.
Over the Hump.
guys very much.
I see that girl around, she don't make a sound. She must be the quietest girl in town. Every time I pass her by, it's hard to believe it, but I don't notice anyone else around. I don't know what's so great about it, can't put my finger on it, don't think I've ever seen her frown. Don't understand why I stare that girl down, got to know what it's about. Oh, now her soul comes through her smile. I've known her for a while, so it seems to me by now. So I smile back to you, I hope it shows you my soul too. It's all that I can do, I wonder if you know me too. Got my attention, girl, don't know what to do, just trying to get your attention too. I've tried so many times to get close to you, but my name just quickly passes through. I see you everywhere, you don't even seem to care. Maybe it's too good to be true. It's getting hard to keep on waiting for you. Maybe it's time for something new. Oh, now her soul comes through her smile. I've known her for a while, so it seems to me by now. So I smile back to you, I hope it shows you my soul too. It's all that I can do, I wonder if you know me too. Hey, hey now. Her soul comes through her smile. I've known her for a while, so it seems to me by now. Day by day I walk your way in hopes that we'll be talking, but I realize your attention can't be bought. No, now, maybe we should meet somewhere. Now that's just a thought, I don't think that's asking for a lot. Now my patience is running out, you can't be the only one around. I think I'm starting to pull through, and so I smile every time I see you. If it's all you want, that's all I'll do. Oh, now her soul comes through her smile. I've known her for a while, so it seems to me by now. So I smile back to you. It shows my soul too.
All right. I interrupted that program because we have a caller. All right. So, Mac, why don't you introduce your friend here to everybody?
Yeah, my little friend here. This is Panda. We played music
Okay.
in multiple bands. Obviously, Below the Baseline, Incredibly Tall People, all that stuff. He was in the videos. Yeah, still do stuff together now. We met, God, forever ago in high school sometime.
Yeah, I was trying to do the math on that. I think it's about like coming up 15 years now.
Yeah, we were in 11th grade, so that was 2007. I'm bad at math.
Yeah. So like 14, 15 years.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah.
14 years. And so now Kava Calls is when you came along. So we went over all the bands, right? Is that right, Mac? You said Kava Calls is when Panda was added in?
Kava Calls, yeah.
Cool
Kava.
beans. Kava Calls. Oh man, there was this dumb line. If Kava calls you, you better answer, or something ridiculous. So anyways, have you, when you came along and met Mac and you started being in a band with him, what was your impression of work with him? making some music with him. Let us hear some stories about what it's like.
What it's like working with Mac, it's really easy. He's really laid back, and I I can't think of another word. I'm not too good with words. That's why I don't write songs. But yeah, if you have like a issue with something or you're having a hard time, he'll explain it to you, and he'll like dumb it down for you to understand it. And he's always putting his input in, showing you how to do better, and what you can practice on and what you can work on. Honestly, the only time I've seen Mac mad is actually two times. One was because of me, and the other one was because of somebody else. The first one was because of me. I locked him outside of the house, and it was like 30 degrees outside. And I guess like he had been having like a really bad day that day. So he was like outside for about 5 or 10 minutes. He's like slamming on the door. I locked him out of his own house. And and I go to open the door. He comes in. He's just like mad. He doesn't say anything. He just punches me as hard as he can in the chest, which is honestly like being flicked by a finger. It's just like that. It didn't really hurt, but like I was like, yo, he's mad. And then, can I tell the second time the Nalu story?
Yeah, real quick. We have a comment in the chat. So you couldn't think of the movie?
Spinal Tap. Yeah.
Camby has said Spinal Tap, the movie where the drummers keep dying. So thank you very much, Camby.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine.
So you know the second time you get mad because you also, I guess, are aware that you don't get mad often. Okay, this is good. Let's spill the tea.
Well, he was definitely in the right for being mad at this one. I think we all were pretty mad. Now things are like pretty much smooth over, and we're all really cool. But we had one drummer who didn't show up for a gig at Nalu's, and which was in Garden City, and we had been set up, and we were supposed to start at 9. It's like 8:50. He hasn't shown up yet. 9 o'clock, 9:15, 9:20, and we're like, where is this guy? And we try calling him, doesn't answer his phone. We're like, oh man, he flaked on us, because we've had that happen with another drummer before. And luckily, Austin Perry, who we replaced him with, was in town from Disney. I think he had left Disney already. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure he'll say something in the comments. But we were like, oh, he's in town. Let's call him and have him come out. Luckily, he was a good sport. Came out, got set up, and we started playing. And then our drummer showed up. The original drummer showed up, and we stopped playing. And we go downstairs, and Mac, he was really nice, but you could tell he was pretty mad. We were all pretty mad, because it kind of made us look bad. And he pretty much fired the guy on the spot, just because like you really can't bail on gigs like that. At least let us know what's going on. And come to find out, he had overslept, been working all day. But now we're all cool. So
yeah, it's a thing that happened, and I'll say, I mean, we're not going to say who it was, but you know, stuff happens. You make up, you move on. So everything's all. But yeah, there's a couple other times where I feel like I don't really know if I know how to handle being mad. So that's part of like why I'm not mad very often. It's just like I don't know. I don't know how to handle it well, I guess. But yeah. I like how the first stories are like, yeah, this is when Matt got mad.
Well, you know what was really interesting? So you're talking about working with him being laid back and like this kind of like guide you through things. Now that's seems like a really patient thing to do. And I know earlier, and you might have said this to me, or you might have said this on stream, you might have felt like you were bossy at times, Mac, but it seems like maybe Panda, from your perspective, it seems like maybe Mac was like lifting you up, and like there was times where you would learn something new potentially or something from him as, I don't know, songs were being written. Could you talk about that process, like actually the writing process, and then what that was like, and if that kind of stuff had happened?
So you want writing process, or how he like would help you out.
Do the help you out first. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so later on in Incredibly Tall People's career, actually before he broke the band up. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. He sent us all an email of things that we need to work on. One couple of things for me was like, get better with your timing and get better with your slapping. Don't put extra notes in and other stuff like that. And he told a bunch of people, told the whole band stuff that they could work on, and he also brought up stuff that he needs to work on, which is also an amazing sign of a leader. Because if he's just saying, "Oh, it's your fault," and it's not my fault, then like you're kind of a jerk. But he even said he needs stuff to work on, and I definitely took that to heart. Just because I knew that I needed to work on it. So I worked on it and fixed it, and at the end of the day, it made me a better musician. And it also kind of brings you closer as a friendship, because friends need to be there to help each other out and need to also be there to slap each other around and get your stuff together, you know? So yeah, that was a really good and cool moment. And when it comes to the writing process, I don't know. It's like it comes out of nowhere. I would like come up with a pretty cool bass line, and then what I felt comfortable with, and then Austin would would start playing some drums. It was pretty much, you started off as a jam, and then it turned into something bigger, if that makes sense. And then from like just being all
Sounds
over the place,
organic.
we would just take parts that we liked and we would put it together, which you can really hear that in the Incredibly Tall People album.
Yeah, and I think there's like a bit of evolution there too, because I remember like the early days of Below the Baseline, I would just write stuff and have a pretty clear idea of like what you and Jeremy should do and all that kind of stuff. And then I think you would like some of the songs you'd rewrite the bass lines and stuff like that. So we'd work together there. And then by the time Incredibly Tall People kind of started doing its thing, it was a much more collaborative thing, to where honestly, like I was just kind of adding stuff on top of what like you guys would come up with. Like you write a bass line. Austin actually wrote a lot of the guitar stuff, although he was playing. And then we just like come up with like kind of a core vibe, and Sam would go home and write lyrics.
Yeah.
That was the most exciting part of it for me, was like, instead of being like, here's what I'm thinking could happen, it's like, this changed 19 times and now we're at something completely different, but it's way cooler than whatever we started with, you know?
Yeah, exactly. There were a couple songs that we actually took that we wrote like 4 or 5 years before Incredibly Tall People, and we completely dissected them and just redid them and made them into something more mature, as in like us as musicians to become more mature. And then we also had the great benefit of Matt going to music school, to school for music, and taking what he learned and bringing it and adding it to Incredibly Tall People.
Which
Honestly,
there's a song called Incredibly Tall People, and that's an example of what you're talking about. Like, that song was an older song that got completely revamped, so I know exactly what you're talking about. So that is really cool. Continue, man.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I lost my train of thought.
Yeah, it's because someone interrupted.
Yeah, jerk.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna ask Panda here, completely off topic, not talking about creating music, but just as far as being a friend, whether you're on tour or hanging out, surrounding music, right? What's a cool, fun, silly story that's heartwarming and not incriminating of your friend Mac here?
Jeez. Do we have that? All right, I'm gonna put this out there right now. When we were in Incredibly Tall People and Below the Baseline, I had turned 21. So like from 21 to 26, it's all kind of a blur because I was doing a lot of stuff. But I'm trying to think of. Can you come up with?
Remember that?
What?
Timber. Okay. So
you broke up. I couldn't hear
Tim Burr?
Timber, not the name Timber, like timber as in the tree falling over. We were playing with our buddy Josh Carter up in
Oh yeah.
yeah, you take it from here, you remember right now.
Okay. So we went. All right. So that night was pretty wild. It started off. We actually went to up to Charlotte and to play a show with our buddy Josh Carter, and early in the night we had gotten up there. We were all pretty hungry. So, did you go to the Chinese restaurant with us?
No, I was still setting up the PA for Josh.
Okay, so I think it was me and Sam and Pablo and one other. I can't remember who was playing drums for that.
Yeah, I forget his name.
We've been through so many drummers.
Yeah, Spinal Tap, turn it up to 11.
Awesome.
Right. So we went to the Chinese restaurant, and my sister works up in Charlotte. In the area we were at, it's known as Indian Land. I don't actually know the actual name of it, but that's what they call it around there. That's what the locals call it. They could probably come up with a better name, but I didn't. I wasn't expecting to see my sister because she was working, but there was this guy at the Chinese restaurant who passed out, an older guy, and she was an EMT at the time, and she shows up, and I was like, "Holy crap, that's my sister!" So, and then that should have been an omen to what was going to happen later on that night. We play the gig, and we get finished up. We decide to go to Josh's apartment.
Even within, I'll interject here real quick. There was like 3 people at this gig, right? So Josh opens up, we play in the middle of like the height of our set. Like I'm about to go to like rip into a hard part of this guitar solo. Power goes out. So just.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a weird occurrence.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, okay, this is weird. But we got things working again and played the song from the beginning again. It's like, I want to play that song. So we redid it. But so
yeah.
In the set.
It ended up being a pretty good gig, other than the power going out and stuff. We got all loaded up, and then we go to Josh's apartment, and they go into Josh's room. I don't know I do know what's going on in there, but I'm not going to say anything. I was sitting on the couch, and all I hear is a loud thud. Sitting on the couch in the living room, and all I hear is a loud thud, and I'm like, "What the F was that, man?" So I go inside, and I see this dude pass out on the ground, and there's like I believe there was blood. I don't know if I'm exaggerating or not, but he hit his head pretty hard on the ground.
Yeah,
and
I forgot you were in the room, but yeah, we're hanging out in his room, and all of a sudden this dude who was the guitar player for Josh's band that opened up, we're standing in a circle, and then all of a sudden this dude, boom, just stiff face right against the board of the bed, like the bedpost, just cuts like his eye and nose right here, and just dead weight on the floor. And we're just like, is this guy alive? Like it looked like he broke his neck. And yeah, so like we're just kind of like, what the heck, flip him over and kind of bring him back around. And yeah, he just passed out. And I think like he hadn't eaten all day, and like they drank a little bit at the gig or whatever, just a combination of bad things, and he just passed out. But yeah, so that was kind of weird. And that's why I said Timber, because we always called him that, like Timber.
He was a good guitar player too, man.
Mike Morris or something like that was his name, I think. Mike something.
Yeah, I can't
was
remember.
it Timber?
Yeah, I mean,
it is now. You guys went to the emergency room with him and you guys were there for a good like 3 or 4 hours.
Dude, it was longer than that. Like I think I was the only one that wasn't drinking a little bit at the time. So I was like, well, like he was kind of okay, but it's like, man, he hit his head hard enough. We need to check this out. Make sure he doesn't. Yeah. And so I drove him and Josh to the emergency room, and we were there till like 6 a.m. And I remember falling asleep in like another room there. And I'd never really been to the emergency room like that. So I had no idea how long it was going to take. And we were supposed to leave at 8 o'clock to go back home. I think we had another gig or something, so we had to leave early. And I remember just handing the keys to you or Sam or someone, like, I'm not driving. I'm sleeping.
Yeah.
That's funny because I do remember. So this is a story, I guess, about Jeremy, another one of your drummers. I remember early on when you first got your car, you were not going to let someone else drive your car or anything. Didn't Jeremy steal your car once? Just
Okay.
taking a lap around the neighborhood was all.
Yeah, I was pretty adamant. Like if anything happens to my car, I want it to be my fault because I don't want to be mad at my friend or something. And
Right.
and he was always like, dude, let's switch cars. Let's switch cars. Let me drive. Let me drive. I'm like, why? Why do you care? You know? And so somehow I got a hold of my keys and just stole my car, drove it around for a little bit in the neighborhood, just to piss me off.
Yeah, I must have been around because I remember that day, or maybe I was laughing at how mad you were or something. Which I guess you were just more annoyed than actual mad.
I mean, that was like Jeremy's goal, is just to see how far he can push somebody and then push a little bit more. But the thing
Just
about that,
over the line, dance on the line, and then just a little toe over.
giant leap over the line, but then be so funny about it that you couldn't be mad at him for more than like 5 minutes.
I don't know, man. There was a week when we went to Asheville for our graduation trip. I had an ear infection. I lost my wallet on the way up there. And the whole time Jeremy was just messing with me. Like we get in town, we eat. I think that's when we learned how to play rummy with your dad. And we played rummy for a bit, and I was like, I'm going to bed. I pass out, and Jeremy comes in the room and tries to flip my bed.
Oh,
I was pissed.
We all did it. I think.
Oh yeah, you all did it, but like I'm pretty
Jeremy's
sure Jeremy
idea.
was the instigator.
Oh,
Yeah,
he instigated it for sure. But because I remember like that was one time I saw Panda really pissed because like we ran out of the room and I see him like busting around the corner like he was gonna kill all of us. So I went and like hid in the bathroom of the other room or something. And yeah, I was scared for a little bit there.
that was the same night. That was the same weekend that Sam got that bullwhip.
Oh yeah.
And he was like, I don't want to hit anyone unless I get hit by it.
Yeah, we took turns. Me and him did it. I can't remember if Jeremy did it too, but we just laid down and just curious what it would feel like. Now we didn't actually whip it back. We just like laid it across, but it left a few whelps.
Yeah. And your dad's just smiling and laughing at us doing it. Like, but if we had to go on tour with Jeremy, I would have either killed him or left the band. Let's just say that.
Well, he's a lot better now, I think.
Oh yeah.
That's funny. Oh wow. I have a story to tell because I think you were involved, Panda, and this was maybe before or after a gig or during some sort of celebration where maybe it didn't revolve around the band, but at least people who were in your bands were around. I was invited to come over to your house, but no one was there. I think you guys had gone to get food, but you left your house unlocked. So I was mad because like someone literally just told me to come over. Literally, I lived like 2 doors down. So it wasn't that inconvenient that I was over and no one was there. So I rearranged a bunch of stuff in your house. Just started like putting chairs upside down on the tables, and like I took this giraffe and put it right by the door and everything. And then just like just weird simple stuff, not that inconvenient. And then I went and hid, and I hid in the shower.
I remember that. Oh man, yeah.
But like I could hear everyone like saying like, what's going on? Why is this here? Oh, and you, Mac, went, I'll check the bathroom. Went and like barely like pushed the curtain of the shower. I was like ready to jump out at you, and you're like, no one's in here, and you left. And then so like I was like, all right. AJ goes and checks. AJ, my brother, checks our house. I'm not there. I've got my phone on silent, luckily. But then I put my ringer back on, and then I actually went in your bed. So that way you could come back in my room after someone like called me again or something. And then like I jumped out of my bed at you or something. You're like, how'd you get in the bed? You weren't in the bed. I checked the bed. It was like, no, I was in the shower. It was like, it was a really, it was one of the best hide and go seek things I've ever done. And
I was convinced that you were somehow in the attic because like there was like this little exercise trampoline my mom had, or my dad, it was one of theirs, and and you put it like right in the middle of the hallway under like the little square thing that goes into the attic. We didn't have like a pull down or anything. And I was like, I think he just hopped up there on the trampoline. So I was trying to figure out how to get up there, and I was
I
way off.
remember that. Oh yeah. Woo. I remember that. Cool.
So there's a funny story about Jeremy, our old drummer. He lived at my house for a few weeks because he had some family stuff going on. And I remember my parents were out of town and we were both going to tech at the time. So we're both like doing homework at the table. And he goes to bed. It's like 11 o'clock or whatever. I'm up for like another hour, probably like another 30 minutes, like finishing up some homework. And I had two beds in my room, or we like made like a little blow up bed thing for him. And I walk in my room and like see like a body laying asleep. I go to the bathroom, like brush my teeth, do all that, and go to bed. I'm laying in bed for about 30 minutes. Then all of a sudden he comes screaming as loud as he can out of my closet. Like I'm basically falling asleep at this point. And just like, I thought somebody was trying to like stab me or something, but like he had waited in my closet, which had no room in it. He like was on top of all my crap. And for probably like 45 minutes, he was just in there, just waiting and like waited for me to fall asleep, basically.
What is it when people try to scare you, man?
I don't know, man. I guess it's too easy.
All right. Well,
Like, that was probably the most scared I'd ever been.
well, you know what? Hey, let's give a round of applause for our friend Andrew McDermott, Panda, for coming and joining us today and sharing some stories about Mac. We're gonna go to another commercial break right here, and we'll be right back. Over the hump.
Hello, everybody. We are the Comedy Pigs. We're practicing a game we call Scenes from a Hat. Wrong things to say at a eulogy.
I am so gonna miss Mr. I'm just gonna really miss this guy here. He's a good guy.
He just borrowed like $100 from me like Thursday, so just wondering who's gonna pay now that he's dead.
Things you can shout at a football game, but not in bed.
Well, you could have drove a dump truck through that gap.
Yeah, we're dealing with a bunch of overpaid prima donnas here.
Man, his brother and his dad are way better at doing that than he is.
Bye.
See you at the show.
Right. Thank
See you at the shows.
Comedy Pigs.
Thank you, Comedy.
All right, we're back. So yeah, it was great that we had one of your friends, well, one of our friends on the show talk about what it's like working with you and everything. So, is there something you want to plug? What's going on right now? Let's hear the latest and greatest project of Mckinley Devilbiss.
I hope it's great anyway. Yes, so currently kind of the number one thing I'm focusing on is I'm in my last semester of my master's program. So for my senior project, I'm doing basically like a little 5-song EP that is some select artists playing local music in Myrtle Beach. And I'm kind of using this as a trial run for something I want to make like maybe a yearly or bi-yearly, twice a year kind of project to where as I mentioned earlier in the show, like local music in Myrtle Beach kind of gets looked over sometimes, but there's a lot of cool things happening here. So basically it's like a Myrtle Beach mixtape. Like here are some cool things that local bands are doing in Myrtle Beach for you people to check out. And I get to help produce it and record, mix and master, basically take it from like their conception, like what's the song you want to do, and I'll do my best to help reach that goal that they have in mind, so we can put it out in front of people, and hopefully get a little more press and eyes on a specific part of the Myrtle Beach scene.
Hey, Dewey Moss is now following. Thank you very much, Dewey Moss. Oh, he threw some stuff up in the chat here. Oh, it's Ronnie.
Oh.
Ronnie Kilco. I feel I'm gonna just put this little link in the chat there. Wow, there's a lot going on all of a sudden. In case Ronnie wanted to call it. Continue to plug your story though.
Yeah, so my goal after graduation is basically be able to have mainly a mixing business called Make Your Mark Audio. That's going to be the name, and the description's kind of in the name. Like, you know, there are people who record and mix and stuff that impart their own sound onto things, and I think that's inherent to anyone's particular taste. But my emphasis is helping other people get what they want out of music. You know, so if I have an idea and you tell me like that's not what I'm thinking at all, cool. What are you thinking? Let's go that route. You know, and I definitely want to focus on helping local bands just create more and, you know, place more emphasis. Like, if the local music scene is lacking here, what can we do to help it? Complain about it is not the answer, right? So we can put out more content, find new ways to get that content in front of people. If there's not a venue that books a local band, then maybe we can throw up some kind of events and some random, a parking lot or something, put up a tent and let a band play, you know? So all those kinds of ideas, like anything I can do to help get local music kind of where people want to take it, then I want to be a part of it, you know?
All right, Big Purr is now following. Thank you, Big Purr. I appreciate that. What Dewey Moss, our friend Ronnie Coco says, on a break on a gig, would love to sometimes. I'm all in for the original mixtape idea. You know, you're the right person to do it too. I feel like so many people, especially in the Myrtle Beach music scene, know you. Senior bands, or you might have sat in on one of their bands or something like that. So I've kind of observed this as well, and had thought it would be cool for bands to collaborate to like release an album together to bring awareness to the Myrtle Beach music scene. And you're having this idea and you're doing it. You're the perfect person for the job, and I'm so excited and I'm so glad. And we got at least one more person in the chat that's all in for this. So we're gonna be wrapping up soon. If you're watching, throw your support in the chat. Let us know what you think about this original idea of a mixtape for Myrtle Beach bands. And yeah, so is this under Make Your Mark Audio? Are we talking about?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a shameless way for me to plug myself too, you know, but that's kind of the whole essence of what I would like to contribute. Because I mean, there's a lot of great studios and engineers in town, and a lot of them do stuff very much in the same vein of what I'm talking about. So I'm not trying to act like I'm the one that's going to come in and do it. It's happening, but I want to help. I want to be another part that helps push that further. And I always use there's a local surf shop called Village Surf Shop. You know what I'm talking about, Steve?
I know what you're talking about.
They do so much to have events for the community and be involved, and other surf shops do too. I'm not, you know, trying to single anyone out, but that's just an example in my head of like, let's get more people involved in the music scene to do the same kind of thing, and on a consistent basis. So yeah, that's what I hope to do. So for this first round, just 5 artists. I hope to do in the future like 10 at a time or something like that. But I have to do a test run, and I have to do it for my project, which has a very limited timeline at the moment. So that'll be me working out the kinks and still hopefully being able to put out a great product for everyone. And if you follow me on Facebook, if you're not doing that already, I will keep those updates coming as I start to get that project under wraps.
All right, cool. Yeah, so we got a big old yeah from Big Purr. Love the idea. Dewey Moss says G2G, which I'm going to say is got to go. Peace and love. And honestly, Mac and I, we've got to go too. So thank you very much, everybody, for watching the stream. Anything else you want to add here?
No, thank you so much, man. This was a lot of fun. I don't talk about myself a whole lot, so that was outside of my comfort zone, but in a cool way, man. I appreciate it, and hope to do it again sometime.
Yeah, cool. Well, you know, I look up to you, and I think it's because I literally had to look up to you when we were kids, and so what was that?
And now I look up to you, which is not right to me.
Yeah. It's a little backwards, Colin. Now, so anyways, thank you very much, everybody. We're gonna take this out tomorrow night at 9 o'clock. You could see Strange Times Indeed with Cliff McAllister, and then Friday at 9 o'clock, The Comedy Pigs, and then next Friday, Crit at 9 o'clock, D&D Improv Troupe. So, thank you very much for watching, and we'll catch you next time on Over the Hump.